Think old Hollywood always played by the rules? Think again. Before the censors took control, a wild crop of films laughed in the face of society's most sacred traditions, teasing, twisting, and turning marriage, religion, and morality upside down. From sharp satire to jaw-dropping storylines, these films challenged everything audiences believed was proper. Here are 12 pre-code movies that mocked the very pillars of polite society, leaving church leaders, critics, and the censors scrambling and rewriting the boundaries of what the silver screen could dare to say. Design for Living, 1933. Ernst Lubitsch's Design for Living is perhaps the ultimate pre-code provocation. Starring Miriam Hopkins, Frederick March, and Gary Cooper, this stylish romantic comedy tosses out the idea of marriage as a sacred institution and replaces it with a gentleman's agreement between three friends-turned-lovers. Gilda, Tom, and George find themselves in a mutual relationship with no jealousy, no judgment, and certainly no vows. They openly reject the notion that love has to be exclusive or legally binding. When the trio sets ground rules for living and loving together, the film treats this unconventional setup with warmth and humor, not as scandal, but as common sense. Lubitsch's script, adapted from Noel Coward's play, pokes fun at the hypocrisy of conventional morality, showing characters who are honest about their feelings instead of sneaking around. The dialogue is packed with sly asides, making it clear that the audience is in on the joke. The movie's threesome arrangement drew howls of protest from conservative critics and was condemned by the Catholic Legion of Decency for mocking the sanctity of marriage. The studio received angry letters from clergy and parents alike. Yet Design for Living was a box office hit, and its lighthearted subversion stands as a witty rebuke to anyone who takes social rules too seriously. In an era of secrets and shame, this film let the truth and laughter take center stage. The Divorcee, 1930. The Divorcee is a landmark in the way Hollywood tackled the double standards of marriage. Norma Shearer plays Jerry Martin, a woman whose world is turned upside down by her husband's affair. But instead of quietly suffering, Jerry flips the script. If men can play around and expect forgiveness, why not women? The movie's treatment of infidelity is refreshingly modern. Rather than painting Jerry as a fallen woman, it turns her into a symbol of liberation. The story openly mocks the idea that marriage gives one partner the right to stray, while the other must endure. Jerry's journey exposes the hypocrisy baked into social conventions, and Shearer's performance brims with humor, irony, and defiance. When The Divorcee hit theaters, the Catholic Church, women's groups, and conservative critics lined up to condemn its message. Editorials accused the movie of corrupting the institution of marriage and inviting women to abandon their families. In several cities, the film was trimmed or given warning labels, but audiences loved its candor, and Shearer won an Oscar for a role that gave voice to countless women's frustrations. The film's refusal to punish its heroine or return her to her place was a direct jab at the moralists. Instead, The Divorcee celebrates agency, choice, and the right to happiness, no matter what tradition says. Red-Headed Woman, 1932. Jean Harlow's Lil Andrews is a tornado of ambition, wit, and disregard for social rules. In Red-Headed Woman, Lil is a secretary who refuses to stay in her lane, especially when it comes to marriage. She brazenly pursues her married boss, seduces him away from his wife, and manipulates her way into wealth, privilege, and scandal, all with a mischievous grin. But the real audacity of the film is how it treats Lil's behavior. Rather than punishing her for breaking up a marriage, the story rewards her. Lil not only gets the man, but continues to chase new opportunities, leaving a string of shocked husbands and wives in her wake. The script is loaded with innuendo and jokes that poke fun at society's obsession with proper conduct. Religious and civic groups were quick to denounce the movie as an affront to marriage and morality. The Catholic Legion of Decency labeled it dangerous, and theaters in several states were pressured to pull the film or cut key scenes. Yet audiences couldn't get enough of Harlow's rebellious energy and the film's sly humor. Red-Headed Woman became a sensation, its very defiance of tradition making it a blueprint for the modern anti-heroine. It's a film that doesn't just break the rules, it laughs at the people who wrote them. The Sign of the Cross, 1932. DeMille's The Sign of the Cross is remembered as much for its spectacle as for its sharp satire of faith and power. While it purports to be a religious epic, the film revels in scenes of decadence, pagan banquets, lavish parties, and the infamous milk bath sequence with Claudette Colbert. Rather than elevating Christian virtue, the movie spends much of its time mocking the excesses and corruption of Rome, and by implication, the hypocrisy found in all religious institutions. The movie walks a thin line, depicting early Christians as persecuted heroes, while spending more time showing the vices of their persecutors. The wild parties and elaborate sets provide a tongue-in-cheek backdrop for the film's biggest gags. DeMille even inserts moments of sly irony, with saints and sinners sharing the screen in scenes that make both sides seem a little absurd. The Catholic Church and Protestant leaders responded with outrage, accusing DeMille of using faith as an excuse for on-screen mischief. The Legion of Decency's condemnation was swift and fierce, and numerous scenes were cut for later reissues. Yet the film's box office success proved that audiences were more than willing to laugh at the self-seriousness of both ancient and modern holy rollers. In the end, The Sign of the Cross stands as proof that even the most sacred topics are fair game for Hollywood wit. Three on a Match, 1932. Three on a Match is a fast-paced melodrama that turns the conventions of marriage and family upside down. The film follows three women, played by Anne Dvorak, Joan Blondell, and Bette Davis, whose lives intertwine from childhood into adulthood. When Vivian, trapped in a stifling marriage, leaves her husband and child for another man, the film makes no attempt to disguise its disdain for traditional values. Vivian's fall from grace is depicted with a hint of sarcasm. Her quest for excitement is portrayed as a logical response to the emptiness of her upper-class life. The movie's message is clear. Marriage is not always the answer, and settling down can lead to boredom and despair. Instead of punishing Vivian for breaking social rules, the story treats her choices as understandable, if not admirable. Censors and religious groups were quick to protest, especially over scenes involving divorce, affairs, and women living outside the norm. The Catholic Legion of Decency called the film a dangerous example for young women, and in some cities, edits were required for exhibition. Despite the criticism, audiences related to the characters' restlessness and the film's willingness to poke fun at the fantasy of the perfect home. Three on a Match mocks the idea that marriage and motherhood guarantee happiness and suggests that rebellion, not conformity, is sometimes the only way to survive. Call Her Savage, 1932. Clara Bow's return to the screen in Call Her Savage is one of pre-code Hollywood's wildest rides. Bow plays NASA Springer, a Texas firebrand who fights, loves, and rebels with abandon. The movie revels in NASA's refusal to accept the roles society, or religion, tries to impose on her. She drinks, brawls, and laughs in the face of the judgmental world around her. The story takes on not just marriage, but also the idea that women must be tamed, faithful, or meek. NASA's adventures include a disastrous marriage, wild parties, and run-ins with preachers and busybodies, all shown with a sense of chaos and wit. Even when she's brought low, the film refuses to let her become a cautionary tale. Religious leaders denounced Call Her Savage for its mockery of all that is good and holy. Churches organized boycotts, and several city censors banned the movie outright. But Bow's performance was a hit with audiences, and critics praised the film's boldness in skewering hypocrisy and outdated rules. Call Her Savage is a celebration of rebellion, a movie that laughs at any system that tries to control the wild spirit of a woman determined to live her own way. The Greeks had a word for them. 1932. This sharp comedy features three friends, Schatze, Polaire, and Jean, who move through high society using their looks, brains, and charm to outwit wealthy men and sidestep marriage altogether. Instead of being on the hunt for husbands, these women treat matrimony as just another game, something to mock, manipulate, or avoid whenever possible. The film's witty script is full of jokes at the expense of tradition. The three women make sport of proposals, treating wedding rings as little more than bargaining chips. Their schemes leave their would-be suitors looking foolish, and the movie delights in turning the tables on the notion that marriage is every woman's goal. Censors and church groups complained about the film's flippant attitude, and some cities demanded changes to dialogue and plot. But for Depression-era audiences, the humor was liberating, a signal that it was okay to laugh at the tired cliches of romance and respectability. The Greeks had a word for them, stands as a clever rebuke to the myth that marriage and virtue go hand in hand, and a reminder that sometimes the best jokes are the ones society least wants to hear. Trouble in Paradise, 1932. Ernst Lubitsch returns to this list with Trouble in Paradise, a sparkling comedy that lampoons romance, marriage, and the morals of polite society. Herbert Marshall and Miriam Hopkins play a pair of thieves who fall in love while plotting to rob a wealthy widow, played by Kay Francis. The trio's shifting alliances and double crosses are handled with sly sophistication, making the institution of marriage look like just another scam. The film is loaded with scenes where the characters swap partners, lie without remorse, and treat love as a delightful con game. Instead of treating betrayal as tragedy, Lubitsch spins it into comedy, gently mocking the idea that commitment and honesty are always desirable, or even possible. Church and civic groups objected to the film's playful disregard for the sacred bonds of marriage, and the Legion of Decency labeled it morally objectionable. Despite this, Trouble in Paradise was a hit with critics and urban audiences, admired for its clever writing and refusal to take anything, least of all morality, too seriously. Today, the film is considered a masterpiece of wit, proof that even the grandest traditions are ripe for laughter and a little bit of larceny. 9. She Done Him Wrong, 1933. Mae West's She Done Him Wrong is a showcase for the kind of humor that could only come from the pre-code era. Playing Lady Lou, West struts through the plot as a saloon singer who bends every rule and outsmarts every man. The movie is a non-stop parade of sly jokes about marriage, the clergy, and the idea that women should behave. West's one-liners take aim at hypocrisy, poking fun at men who preach morality but practice the opposite. Lady Lou dodges marriage proposals, laughs off threats, and makes a joke of every sermon thrown her way. Even when a temperance group tries to reform her, she simply flirts with the leader and continues on her own terms. The church's response was swift. The Legion of Decency condemned the film, and religious groups lobbied for its ban. But West's irreverence made the movie a massive hit. For Depression-era viewers, her boldness was both relief and inspiration. She Done Him Wrong is more than a comedy. It's a wink at the audience, an invitation to laugh at those who try to turn life into a sermon. Girls About Town, 1931. This George Cukor-directed comedy stars Kay Francis and Lillian Tashman as two savvy women who make their living entertaining wealthy businessmen, sometimes by flirting with marriage, but never actually surrendering their independence. The film mocks the transactional nature of matrimony and the double standards that judge women but let men off the hook. The heroines treat marriage as just another part of their hustle, negotiating dates with high rollers while remaining in full control of their destinies. The movie's playful attitude toward relationships and social climbing left censors and church groups rattled, especially when the women openly discuss avoiding commitment and prioritizing their friendship over romance. Despite the controversy, Girls About Town was praised for its clever dialogue and modern approach. It's a film that strips away the pretense around marriage and shows the real, often funny games people play. Ann Vickers, 1933. Irene Dunn's Ann Vickers is a reformer who challenges every social norm, including the ones set by church and state. The film tackles taboo topics head-on, including relationships outside marriage, the failures of the legal system, and the power of personal conscience over blind obedience to tradition. Anne's journey is marked by her refusal to let religion or societal expectations dictate her happiness. She forges her own path, helping others, making tough choices, and facing down condemnation from those who would judge her. The movie was condemned by the Catholic Legion of Decency and was banned in several cities for its depiction of a woman who answers only to her own sense of right and wrong. Ann Vickers is a tribute to independent thought and the courage to question authority. It's a film that challenges the idea that morality must always align with tradition, and that sometimes doing what's right means breaking the rules. The Story of Temple Drake, 1933. Based on William Faulkner's controversial novel Sanctuary, this film shocked viewers with its dark themes and willingness to question every pillar of polite society. Temple Drake, a Southern debutante, is drawn into a world of crime and corruption that exposes the hollowness of Southern gentility and the failure of both marriage and religion to protect or redeem. The film's depiction of moral ambiguity, hypocrisy, and failed justice infuriated religious leaders and censors. The Catholic Legion of Decency condemned the film as corrupting and dangerous, and it was banned in numerous cities. Critics accused it of glorifying vice and mocking the very institutions meant to keep society safe. But the story of Temple Drake also struck a chord with audiences for its unflinching honesty. It refused to deliver easy answers, instead showing the consequences of a world built on pretense. The movie remains one of the most powerful indictments of moral hypocrisy in pre-code cinema. These 12 pre-code films dared to poke fun at the very ideas society claimed were sacred, turning marriage, religion, and morality into punchlines, plot twists, and acts of rebellion. In the process, they changed Hollywood forever, sparking outrage, protest, and, sometimes, a little bit of progress. Which film shocked you most? Tell us in the comments. And if you want more untold stories from Hollywood's wildest years, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Sometimes the movies that break the rules are the ones we never forget.